readers and readers, I'm Christie Stratos, and today I'm just going to give you an update on how Locke and Key is coming, the second book in the Dark Victoriana collection. As of now, I have crossed 25,000 words. I never anticipated that the book was going to be this long. As you probably already know, it was supposed to be a novelette. I planned on it being about 10,000 words long, and now it's 25,000 words long. So I'm really happy with that. It's not long because I'm just adding stuff for funsies. It's long because I changed the whole thing around. Originally it was just going to be sort of like a diary type of thing, but the focus was going to be on the town and the various goings on in the town and finding out all these secrets through being lock and key, locksmiths and lock makers, key makers, and it changed. It wasn't going well, and you know, I didn't like it. So when I restarted it, it started really focusing on character development. And what does that sound like? It sounds like Anatomy of a Darkened Heart. It's heavy on the character development. We're focusing instead of on the town, which there is, you know, there's plenty of secrets in there. That's most of the point of it. We focus heavily on the character development of the employees of Locke and Key and Mr. Locke himself. But we are going to heavily see Mr. Locke's development through the perspective of his employees. So we're not going to see too much from his perspective. You probably realize that this sounds like a character-driven book, just like Anatomy of a Darkened Heart, and that is what it is. There's not so much a focus on plot as there is on character development, learning about these characters, and the whole book going forward being driven by these characters that we keep learning more and more about. Every scene reveals a little bit more about them and why they're working there. I just reworked the beginning. It was not starting in a way that really set it up well, and now I found a way that's a little bit different. I think you'll like it. And one of the things that's really funny, I think it's funny anyway, in the Best Fantasy Book Subgenre Reading Challenge, one of the things I joke about in the Goodreads group is that there are so many prologues in fantasy books, and we came across one that has like 2 or 3 prologues to it, and it just takes a while to get started in the actual book, and it's so it sort of is like a reference to that in a way. I sort of have, I guess you could, they're not really prologues, they're like mini intros to it. These pages that are just 1 page or less, maybe 2 pages maximum long, that come before part 1 begins. And so that's sort of a reference for those of you who think it's funny when a book has a lot of prologues. So I wouldn't call it prologues, but I would call them mini introductions before the book actually gets started. So there's like 4 of them. So I hope you will enjoy that when it comes out. They all serve a purpose. There needed to be smaller pieces introducing it. First of all, I just felt that. I felt that it needed to be there. You know, it's just part of the creative spirit. But second of all, there needed to be some setup before part 1 actually began. The other change that has happened is originally I was having each part from the character's perspective, so I was using first-person perspective for everyone. And I don't think that's going to work out because there are a couple of scenes where people aren't actually necessarily still in the room, but we still need to see something that they couldn't necessarily overhear easily or see people's positioning. So I'm going to have it third person, which I think is actually going to make it much smoother, easier to read, and I think it's going to give us a lot more perspective. It's going to be less confusing because it's going to be more like Anatomy of a Darkened Heart. So, you know, I started way far away from the way Anatomy of a Darkened Heart was, and I came right back to my roots. And I think that that's going to make the whole Dark Victoriana collection flow better. It's not what I planned, but it's how it's turning out, and it's turning out much smoother. The point of this update is also to tell you that by now I needed to have finished it to publish it by April 29th. And so I'm definitely not done with it yet, even though it's 25,000 words. Definitely a novella, not a novelette, way past where I had thought it was going to go. It's still not done. I have much more situation and character development to get done. So I hope you understand. I'm sure you will, especially for those of you who did read Anatomy of a Darkened Heart and liked it. You know that it takes time for these characters to develop. The things I'm adding are absolutely necessary in the character development and story development. If you know my writing, you know that I don't like to have anything extra, which is why I like to write short stories. Every word has to count, so I try to make my books that way as well, and you're going to find the same thing in this book. So I can't announce an official update. I did learn from a couple of other authors when in the future I should announce a publication date, and I definitely preemptively announced it. So it's not going to be April 29th anymore. I'm not going to give you another date, just so that I don't disappoint you or get you looking forward to something that isn't going to happen. I still plan on publishing 3 books this year. They're all going to be in the Dark Victoriana collection. I have no doubts that's going to come off. One of the reasons that I think this one turned out to be much longer is because there are so many characters that are pivotal to the novel and that we can't really just skip over. So in the next two novelettes, they are going to be novelettes, or so I think, they focus on one person, not a cast of characters. So it should be a lot easier to have a novelette that just focuses on that character. I'm really enjoying writing it, and I hope you'll enjoy reading it when I finish it. I'll see you soon.